Okay, and now.
Okay, are you sure they're gone this time? No, last time you said they were gone. I took the stuff off and all right, I see them pulling away. Okay, cool. Hey, it's Friday. I don't know what I'm going to do with that every week or if I'm going to abandon it, but I'm having a lot of fun with it at the moment. Well, good Pi Day Friday, everybody. As you can see, I am not alone. Scott is traveling. He's gone off to the wilds of West Texas today, presumably to hide from the next two major weather centers that are bearing down on Texas as we speak. We are fortunate, however, today to be joined by the infamous, almost always in the background, but every now and again, he's willing to join us on camera, Michael Smyer. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Dave, how you going?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, likewise, very glad to have you here. As everybody knows, we sing your praises as the in-house genius, and your title is yes, we know that.
No pressure.
Yes, Michael has so many areas of deep expertise. It's amazing. And one of them is he's just super strong in the whole Linux and Linux infrastructure and tools and things like that. So he's kind of the ideal person to bring in today for one of the things we're going to be talking about, bash scripting. Even last night, I was doing some fine tuning and he had a ton of improvements, ideas, and suggestions. And I was terrified of all of them because unlike him, I can't grab a new technology in a half an hour and become really good at it. So I'm terrified to do anything brand spanking new, though he had really great ideas. So I pushed him off and said, I'll do it next week and I'll learn it next week. And then when I started playing last night, turns out everything that he suggested was actually happening automatically. And he was totally aware of that it would be, of course, and has worked with me today on some of these things. So.
Yeah, no, you, I feel like a little too much pressure on that introduction, but yeah,
we
thank
set
you
the
for
bar high, but you set the bar high. All right, well, let's do a little bit of startup. This is our Friday Pi Day drama series, and we talk about Raspberry Pi, and we talk about CompTIA, and we talk about Linux, and we talk about just about anything that you want to talk about short of religion and politics. We'll try to keep those reasonably off limits. We do the AMAs 3 times a week, as you know, Monday, Wednesday at 2 o'clock Central. Mike doesn't ask me anything. Mike Myers, our president and senior author and a million other titles. And then on Friday, same time period, I do these little Pi get-togethers. Also a reminder, next Friday is the big one. We're all ramping up to that and building up to that. And you can't believe all the stuff we're doing in-house to get stoked for this. But Dr. Evan Upton is going to join us. We still don't have all those things nailed down, what time he's going to join us, how long, hopefully the whole 2 hours, but he's a busy guy and it's a little later in grand old England, so we'll see what plays. But hey, we want you here. We want your friends here. Post it on your social media. We got giveaways. Mike and I and a couple of the other staff got together this week and came up with some kits that we're going to provide. We have Europe available. We're going to operate out of Amazon UK. And of course, we got US available. We will do everything we can if you're in an area, you win one of them, we got a multiple of them to get something to you. And if not, we will find some comparable thing that we can get to you. We're going to work very hard on that. If you're in Pakistan, it's very difficult to get places there, but you get the idea. Okay, so did that. Ask questions.
Yes, definitely. If you have any questions.
I'm sorry, say again, Michael.
I said, yeah, definitely. If you have any questions, toss them in the chat. We'll do our best.
Right, and Michael's going to be scanning chat and helping me, correcting me more than likely, looking for good questions to answer. As you know, well, here, let me do this. We'll practice sharing now. This is
and just for everyone, I will be showing up as Total Seminars channel in the chat. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Loving that. Okay, this is what I want. Do this. So this is new for me, everybody. There's more opportunity for me to mess things up. Usually I connect to Scott's Zoom and we use from there. And I finally bought a a business Zoom so that I could do this. By the way, if you're thinking about getting your own Zoom, they're awesome. They're wonderful. The free tier's got some limitations that doesn't work to do something like this. And one of them is it can't stream to YouTube. And another is it automatically shuts off a meeting after 40 minutes. So had to cough up some bucks. But Michael has been, of course, helping me get things going. So if you want to contact me with questions because you can't post today, you didn't get around to it, you're watching this on an archive. You know, it doesn't have to be topical about today or whatever your rationale is. If you want to get in touch with me, you can catch me at my office account, daver@totalsem.com, or my personal email, drushtx@yahoo.com. Catch me on Steam as bloodrushtx. And if you want to call the office, there's no human sitting there answering the phone, but it's forwarded to various personnel. It's not an answering service unless it's after hours, of course. But if you've got to talk to me or Mike or Scott or Michael, and you can convince whoever's in charge of answering the phones that it's an emergency, then they will find a way to get in contact with you.
The wonders of cloud-based phone systems.
Man, it's incredible. And hey, what a shock. Michael operates the phone system. He installed it. We did a total changeover from an analog phone system last year to a VoIP system, and it's got features and it's powerful, and we can even forward it to our cell phones and from our cell phones. It's magical. Well, as you know, we've got weekly specials. This week's special, 50% off all A+ and Net Plus Total Tester bundles. Wait a minute, 50% off all A+ and Net Plus Total Tester. So it's the standalone Total Tester products and Total Tester / Sims bundles. So you get the Total Tester and you get the Total Sims. And of course, since the Sims aren't available, if Andre de Goyert is here, you know, Scott's working on them like mad, but we've got Sec Plus Total Tester available now, 50% off that. When you check out, you use the code MMLive914. That was the date at the beginning of this week. And if we got any teachers here and you haven't gotten in touch with Kathy Yale yet, Kathy Yale, Kathyy @totalsem.com, she has swag for you to help your classes get moving.
All right, so what do we have up first, Dave? Now that we've taken care of all the...
Okay, so we'll go scrolling through the chat. Man,
I haven't seen any direct questions yet.
So
it's a race. I'm sorry, what?
It's kind of a race to see who gets in first every week and every day with Mike's. And Tulowit's always in the number 1, 2, maybe sometimes 3 spot. Brendan's up there. This is interesting. As you guys all may know, I'm doing an indexing project, indexing every AMA that we've ever done so we can make it researchable. When you want to say, hey, when did Mike talk about and when can I watch how to get jobs in the IT department if I'm over a certain age, whatever that may be. We'll have a searchable index for that for you. So as I've gone back through some of these older ones, it's really interesting to see who's been with us since the beginning. Tulowit, I think you appeared in the first or the second episode, certainly by third. I was taking a look at that third one again last night. So it's just kind of a fun thing, and we'll call it an observation from Dave.
I think LBOE has a fun one here.
So do you have time?
Measure the see, how many pies did Zoom cost in terms of pies?
I'm going to answer that. Hold that thought. So Michael, do you have the timestamps popped out?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So yeah, we try and remind everybody the timestamp so they can follow along. So what was the timestamp on that one?
That one was 2:06.
Okay. Scrolling down there, or Dave with his electric guitar, Van Halen. What? So nobody's going to jump my case yet about not having a concert tee up there? I still have plenty of concert tees, but the wife and I were out walking around this past Sunday, and ran into this thing that a gent had who was looking to get rid of it. And I said, oh my gosh, that just screams our background. All right, elbow 2-0, Patricia. Yes, there really is a Michael. Somebody said that last time. I'm ahead of you, Mike. I'm going back behind you for just a second.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think Alice or Dr. Quinn, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had pointed out that when we talk about Michael Smyer or type it in there, they thought it was just some kind of anagram of Mike Myers. So no, there really is.
No, for a while you had to have a name of an existing employee, some sort of connection, or else you couldn't get hired. So
right.
So so mine was Michael. So it worked.
Yeah, I thought that was for when Mike didn't want to take the blame. I love that. All right, so I see your elbow question. So, okay, I'm going to answer that. Let's just say a pie, your basic pie without a case and all that happy junk costs $35. So I am Captain Cheapskate, and I'll do a trade whenever I can. But when I called Zoom, they weren't interested in a trade. But much to my thrill, they do have a first year get you hooked deal. So the basic business account's $150 a year, but I found a 30% off coupon that worked. So next year they're going to nail me for the full 150, but I was in for like $109 or something this year, so I'm very happy.
And what does a pie cost these days?
Right, I guess 35. So call that 3 pies.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh man, my scroller blaster just went rasting down.
No.
Okay, I'm caught up. There's 203 and elbow again. Here's my thing here. Who cast a downvote? Yeah, no, there's always somebody who comes on, and it's probably not one of the folks here.
I blame it on bots.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael has the ability to utterly destroy your account if trolls come on. Buonasera, Alice Pazzi. Somebody's telling me it's Alice now, and then we had the big internal argument about, well, should we Americanize it or Americanize it? There you go. But it doesn't matter. We know who you are. You know who we are, and I'm grateful to see you again. What, Brendan?
Long live Raspberry Pi product.
Oh, okay. I thought you were accusing Patricia Grace of not using her real name. Andre is here. I'm in. You're right. Jean Doreval, and I will always call you Jean, irrespective of the conversation we had the other day. So good to see you again, my friend. Andrew, hello, sir. I don't think I saw you at the AMA this week, though there's a lot of people I didn't get to follow everybody. I never thought of it as a contest. I'm just a creature of habit. Okay. I look at it as everything as a contest. Streams database. Yeah, well, I won't be a streams database. I'm not doing all that. What I do is I watch Mike. Ugh. I watch Mike all day at work when we're in the office. I watch him on video. I watch him when we edit videos. And so I'll watch an AMA after he does one and note that, okay, from time mark 00 to time mark 02, he does an introduction. And then from 02 to 06, he takes general questions. So I don't annotate any individual questions. He might have answered a dozen questions over some time period. And then whenever he has a feature, or if he has a question that he just decides to spend a long time and expand on, then I'll do that as an index entry. So that's the way you're going to find things. And we're making headway. I'm getting not too far from the end. I keep saying that, but there's always something that drags me back. So I'm in kind of the same boat as Scott with Sec Plus Sims, but it will get finished in the near future. And then all we got to do is figure out a good searchable format and where we're going to put it. I think we've got a pin in number 2 there. What are you selling, Michael, to tell us?
Oh, just reading. Somebody, we're just chatting back and forth about buggy YouTube.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Patricia Grace at 213 has a question about using Raspberry Pi as a security camera.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Is that
I'm definitely sure someone's done it.
Well, heck, I think not only has someone done it, we click over to the Drama Pi, log into it. Oh man, that's all right. Oh, what are you doing? I just used the dang thing this morning and it won't connect. I have a Pi here with a security camera plugged into it, and it is not letting me connect, but I'm going to set this camera back standing up. It's fallen over. Oh, how impossible.
That's the way it always works out like that.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't planning on doing this today, so there's prep work to do. but give
Of
me
course.
14 seconds. And I'm going to reboot the thing. I don't know what it's doing. I'm not going to fight with it. When the camera does come up, I don't have it well aimed.
Is it set up on that little camera connector?
Yes.
Do they use the little
Yeah, so there's software to just view it live real time. You can stream it with VNC or RTMP, and there is built into a lot of the software. There we go. Now it's rebooting. Motion detection. So you can have it wake up when something goes live. You can record a series of stills or whatever. So I'll keep that thing here ready to demo in the minute or so that it takes to boot up. So yes, certainly Raspberry Pis are used for security cameras, and you can use USB security cameras as well.
Of course. Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of projects, a lot of people out there doing kind of crazy things, all sorts of like face recognition and other little motion, like you said, motion detection tricks on there, kind of machine vision stuff on Raspberry Pis.
Right. In fact, one of my claims to fame, at least, quietly, is one of my college buddies is a senior techie mucky muck over at AT&T, and AT&T mandates that all of their senior techie mucky mucks take a variety of classes and class types every year, and one of them is AI. And so he and I were looking at the Raspi and some of the AI experiments, and in particular vision detection kind of stuff, and that has become one of the offerings now over at AT&T. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what you can do even on a platform like the Raspberry Pi, that you can do machine vision.
Yep.
Something that would have taken just a decade or so ago, quite a substantial amount of hardware.
Right, technology,
like
so fast. A
serious PC and GPUs and all that. And now you got it on just this little $35 board.
Yep. Time 214. Hi, Taco Chaco. See you talking to Patricia, and then Alice comes in with Cyrillic. Got it. Dave, have I tried turning it on and off again? I think yes. This is technical support. Have you rebooted your computer? Okay, it should be up. Let's see what happens. Click, click. There we go. I'll share it in a second.
Just locked up there for a second.
All right, so now we go and do a share. This thing and this thing and this thing and that and that. All right, so you're looking at the desktop of the Drama Pi that we've been using for the last 6 weeks or so. Just going to open up a command line, and I'm going to put in raspi still -T0. For how long do you want me to take a picture or show the picture or preview it? And then 0 means infinite. Well, that's just lopsided and wonky as all get out. But I think
beautiful shot of the back of the monitor, Dave.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, because it was kind of in a wonky position. Let me close out of that though. Let me show you what you're looking at here, because that's the cool part. Exit that, stop the share. I think I've got enough reach on this thing now.
So when you say T0, was that saying like, show me a video feed, or can you, like, if you were to specify another number, would it be like the number of seconds between frames?
That's correct. How long to wait? It's a delay. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not a delay.
So if you wanted to do something.
No, actually, I'm lying here. It's a preview delay. And then at the end of that preview time, it takes a still.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there's some cool things to it. All right, so can I get this thing in front of me enough? You know what? I'm just going to unplug it so I got enough cord stretch.
Got a nice little glow going on from the window there.
Yeah, now it's all right. So here's a Pi in a little case, and on the top of the circuit board of the Pi, there's a wide ribbon connector, and then there's official Raspberry Pi cameras, and they're non-official cameras. This one is a non-official, but it works with it. And you can see there's just a tiny, tiny little sensor
Oh yeah, look at
hooked up
that.
to this box. So that's my pedestal.
It's basically just like what you might find inside a cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's not very impressive either. He's all of 5 megapixels. I got to get this thing put away and powered back up because we need him for some of the stuff we're going to do today.
Which even that's kind of amazing because, you know, it wasn't that long ago that 5 megapixels would have been state of the art in modern phones.
Right. Ever since
And
this
now
camera
that's just
come out,
cast off, you know.
right. This camera came out, or the official version of this one, and then a pair of 8 megapixels came out. One has the infrared filter removed from it, so it's a night camera.
Oh,
There's a neat
nice.
trick everybody should know, by the way. It fell, but it didn't. Okay. Goodness gracious. All right. I think that'll stay up there long enough to do what we're doing today.
So you said a pair. Is it like a stereo pair? Can you do 3D with it?
No. 2 different models.
Just 2 different models. Gotcha.
Right. So that's the interesting thing for everybody. If you get a camera with a sensor on it, or one of those little kinds of cameras, one will have, or the IR versions, the UV IR ones, they just have a tiny little screen placed in front of the lens. So a little disassembly, and you can pull that screen and make it night vision.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing about all digital cameras. The actual chip is sensitive to infrared and even into ultraviolet for some of them.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if we're talking about the cheapest little cell phone camera or Raspberry Pi camera, all the way up to the big expensive professional DSLRs. And you can, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll modify the sensors and they'll take off the glass that's in front of them and they'll turn them into infrared cameras.
Yep.
Which is very popular for astrophotography.
Right.
And they'll take.
So Raspberry came out with these 2 8 megapixel versions. One they just called the 8 megapixel camera, and the other one they called Pi Noir, French being dark or night, or black. Noir is black. Mm-hmm. And then most recently they came out with a new camera called the HD. It doesn't. It has the IR filter. You can't use it at night unless you want to go do surgery. But the cool thing is it doesn't have a lens on it. It has a micro C mount and a micro CM adapter, so you can put real lenses on this thing. And
is that like those little security camera lenses when you say micro, or oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's
okay.
A tiny little.
Huh. I'll have to look that up. Cool. That sounds interesting.
I haven't coughed up the money for one yet, but I'm looking. All right, let me go catch up a couple more of these questions, and then I got something cool to do today. In fact, we got 3 cool things to do today.
Yeah, let's.
Oh, so you weren't the only one who saw a glitch, huh? Somebody else reported that they hated it when YouTube does that.
Yeah, Brendan was saying that when he signed in, the stream was the chat was going, but he wasn't getting any video feed, and he had to refresh before he saw it. So,
Alice, if that's your next project, check eBay for Pi cameras, and one of the things that they cheap you out on is the length of the ribbon cable. So make sure you get a ribbon cable that's long enough to make you happy. 30 centimeters is the usual stock version, but yeah, it's a fun thing to play with. And I've had mine set up watching the backyard at night at times. And I have another one. I keep debating whether or not to bring it in. It's just big, but I have a good sized 8-inch telescope, and I 3D printed a little adapter for a regular genuine OEM Pi cam and mounted it in the eyepiece. And I do astrophotography with that, and it's just cooler than all get out. I'd
love to see some of your work, Dave.
Yeah, I'll definitely post some of the pictures and bring them up sometime. Thank you. Oh goodness. Andrew, get a Pi. Do it a little bit at a time. cough up to 35 bucks and get a Pi 4 with 2 gigs, because that's the base model these days at that price. And then when you get 10 bucks, get a power supply. And when you get 5 bucks, get a USB, a micro SD card. You now have enough, because you've got an HDMI monitor, you got an HDMI cable, you got a keyboard, you got a mouse. You can start working and set it up, install it, and then prep it for headless. Turn on VNC and turn on SSH. And now you can disconnect the keyboard and the mouse and the monitor and just run it from your regular PC. So you can get into this game for really, really cheap.
Do you need a like one of those wall warts, or can you power it off of like the cell phone chargers that everyone
The
has
Pi
a drawer full of?
4C calls for, it's got a USB-C connector. It needs 5.1 to 5.25 volts at 3 amps. So there's not a lot of the cell phone chargers that can pull all that off. They'll run about 2.4, 2.5 amps. And at that point, they start dropping voltage from 5.0 volts down. So
you're looking at like a 15-watt charger there?
Yeah. I purchased recently, like last week, from China, a pair of 5.25 3-amp chargers. Tested them this week. They work great. They're not phone chargers. They were designed to be copies of this thing. Let me see what's going on in the background here.
Yeah, I know the little ones, the kind of the classic small charger is like 5 watts. And I know with the Apple stuff, the iPad chargers, I can't remember off the top of my head. Are they 10 watts or 20 watts?
As a matter of fact, I think they're 15, but I'm not going to swear to that. I know that I purchased some for the family iPhones.
But that's good to know.
What do you mean, Tulsa? Did I say something particularly negative, Elbow? Tell us how I really feel. The only thing I feel bad about is when I knock over a Pi or knock over the camera and don't have it prepped in advance. Ugh. All right, I'm going way back here. Let me get caught up. Choco Taco literally called a company for support one time, and I cut them off at the pass. They said, "Have you tried turning off?" Okay. You know, as long as we're sharing those kind of tech support companies, back when we were in our offices, Michael and I used to share some space. Scott and Michael and I and everybody. Mike had a closed office, not surprisingly, but we were all in this room that we called the pit. We all faced a wall or a window, and we could just hear each other. And you know, we thought it was kind of great for a collaborative approach. And sometimes it was a little interruptive, so we were always under headset. But one day, Michael was on the phone with tech support to solve a problem that was affecting the whole company. And I won't tell you who he was on with, but Michael is calm. He doesn't get angry about anything. I think you could beat him with barbed wire, and internally he might get upset, but you won't see him yell or scream or anything. But he was very clearly frustrated with this person who was not giving him answers to the questions that he was kind of trying to ask. And so at some point he said, "They don't really train you very well, do they? You don't seem to know what you're talking about." And we just all busted up laughing. Everybody was in the pit.
I remember that, but I can't remember what I was calling about.
The subject was IPv6 support.
IPv6 support.
Yeah, from our cable provider, from our ISP.
Oh yeah, that was frustrating.
Yeah.
That was super frustrating. Just while Dave looks, it was Comcast, of course, Comcast, because I don't mind throwing them under the bus.
Okay.
And we had a Comcast business account, and they provided their own modem router combo unit, which unfortunately you had to use. And long story short, the IPv6 code in there was broken, and it was broken in such a way that it interfered with our internal DNS system. So half the computers in the network would try to connect to Comcast's DNS and not the proper internal DNS. And anyway, it was a bug in their equipment, and they just could not get it through their heads that they had a bug. So
a couple of good things come up. Yes, Patricia Grace, there are no animals here. We lost our our pet a couple of months ago. Very sad. And we'll probably not get some for a long time. So Alice and Tullowit at 219 are talking about PiNet. So for anybody who's not in the know, PiNet is this really, really cool offering, no charge, from the folks at Raspberry, where you can set up a Raspberry server. And on that server, you can put images, bootable images of files for Raspberries. And then at a desk, connected by a network, you turn on your Raspberry and it calls out to the server, and the server says, okay, I see your MAC address, or it can actually ask you a menu, what's your student name, whatever, but by whatever method you choose, an appropriate image gets sent down over the network, and your Pi boots up, and it does everything in memory instead of from the SD card. You save your files to what you think, what looks to you like a local SD card, but in fact, it gets saved up to that server. So they use them in classrooms, they use them in workstation-less environments. It's just stunning. I have never done it. I have seen it done, but I haven't personally done it. It's on my list of potential future projects. As I learn it and as you're interested in it, we'll take a peek.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun thing for a future show.
Indeed. Chaco, so as usual, I'm kind of taking the mic approach here. And when I see ats, I'm going to presume by and large that you're talking with each other. I'm mostly just glancing over it. If I catch important words out of it, I will. Fallout, huh? 221, Tullowit to Alice, moving on. Lots of side conversations.
Yeah, there was one about someone was asking about trying to boot Windows 10 from a USB, a little further down from where you're at.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts? You want to take that while I look?
Let's see. Hey guys, any tips from trying to boot Win 10 from USB? My laptop won't boot from Windows normally, so I made a bootable SD card. On another laptop, so the BIOS to USB hard drives boot, no joy. You have to write the boot sector onto the USB properly. Every time, I've never actually booted Windows 10 as in like a usable OS, kind of live CD style. I don't think you can do that. But if you're talking about trying to like repair or reinstall, personally, I use the Windows 10 media creation tool from Microsoft. You can just go to Microsoft's website, download it, and then it will walk you through the steps of it'll automatically download the ISO from Microsoft for the version you've selected, and then you just have a USB or even, I do believe, SD card plugged in your machine, and it will happily install it right onto that drive for you, and you'll have a bootable disk. Beyond that, really up to your machine to boot it, but it should boot like any other USB.
And what's the other tool to make a bootable thumb?
Yeah, I've used if I'm on a Mac, I'll use Blanche. How do you pronounce this? Something Etcher here.
Oh, Balena, yeah, Balena Etcher is one.
Yeah, Balena Etcher, and I do believe that's cross-platform.
Yep. And so is Rufus, of course.
Rufus, and that was the other one to remember. Rufus is a bit more technical, but if you need to install almost anything onto a USB or flash drive, Rufus is very useful for that.
Cool. All right, I've caught up with you. Went through all those previous. There wasn't anything there to hit. Total Seminars channel. You can use PoE for a Pi. Right. So there's two ways to use PoE, Tullowit. One of them is an aftermarket for all of the models previous to Raspberry Pi 4. There's a hat or an add-on card. And then Pi 4 now has a native PoE connector. You still need to buy the little adapter for it. It's a circuit board about yay big or so, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. And to my eyes, it's a fairly pricey thing for what it does. I think they're retailing for 25 bucks or something like that. But if you need PoE and you got to put a Pi out on the porch or on the back 40 in the shed, something like that, and you're going to run Ethernet cable there, it's a great tool.
That is cool. Yeah, PoE is so useful.
Yeah, Scott?
Okay, so it's a little hat. Interesting.
Yes.
It
And it's
goes
not
on
officially
there.
a hat because a hat has to be the same dimensions. And I went through this a while ago trying to find out what makes a hat and what doesn't, because there were some people on the Raspberry forums that would attack a new product. If Joe Schmo says, we've made a hat that boils tea water. That's not a hat because this and that. And so, yeah, there are actually rules for you to be able to call something a hat, but big deal.
Gotcha.
It's a hat. I'm with you. Reading questions, passing 227. Good, we're gonna get to the end here, then I'm gonna start on something. No, Dave, that was for watching Mike Myers all day. Okay, look, everybody in the company gets their day in the barrel where we have to, I want you to watch 37 of Mike's videos and make test questions out of them or look for tech edits or whatever the case may be. And we all love Mike and we all love interacting with him face to face. But when you hear him repeat things regularly, it's not the shiniest thing you want to wake up to in the morning.
That's why you set up when you're testing the videos on a second laptop in the corner.
Right.
Just keep an eye on it while it's on mute.
Yeah, Pinet's cool. Total seminars. I like to use Rufus. Yeah, there was somebody else on here. I think Alice the other day, or one of the other ladies online was asking if Rufus is appropriate. Hey, Andy SDL is here. Rufus should work. It does. And
Rufus is what I use for a while for especially like burning Linux ISOs and stuff.
Right. All right, I got 2 questions, and then we're going to take a break and do something new and different. So Neil Schneider, trying to use my Bluetooth headphone to connect to my Pi, but I get a GD bus error. .org blue error .authentication failed error. How do you connect? I have never encountered that error, Neil. Every time I have played Bluetooth, it has always worked like a dream. So not knowing that error, I could do the same thing that I'm going to suggest you to do, because I would just be repeating that. Google the error exactly as you have it typed or exactly as it presented itself in quotes, and see what comes up. Add Raspberry Pi to that, of course. And also try the either troubleshooting forum on raspberrypi.org. They're going to have some ideas, but otherwise, I'm sorry, Neil, you got me there. You could send me your headphones and I'll try it on my Pi. And if it works, I will keep them. And if not, I'll send them back. Oh, it's shiny. No, that was not a Firefly reference. I often call things shiny, but I do like Firefly. Did like. Oh man, now Alice is having trouble connecting with, and Alice, I expect you to do well too. So other things to try. Upgrade to the newest, latest, greatest version of Raspberry Pi OS. If you're still playing with Raspbian or something like that, definitely time to consider an upgrade. That may have some impact.
Dave, is the Raspberry Pi Stack Exchange useful? Do you find it, have you done much looking around over there?
I haven't looked around much. Every now and again, I'll find a project and it'll refer to a conversation on Stack Exchange, but no, you will find me, besides the Raspberry Pi forum, on Hackaday, DIY, I can't think of the name of the whole website, Reddit. But
All
no,
the other usual places.
So coders are going to live much more like yourself over on Stack Exchange. Yes, Astroscon Pi. I also have that as an item. And I'm going to come back and talk about that. Let me talk about a project or two that we want to do today and then get fired up on one. So we try to do 2 or 3 projects a day. I've got a couple fairly quick ones in mind today. And along those lines, we usually do a protocol of the day. So I'm going to do a protocol of the day. We're going to use WireShark. This one is different. Unlike the protocols that have numbers that we're required to know in A+, Net+, Sec+, there are also unnumbered protocols. Excuse me, I got something on my lip. I'm probably staring out now terribly, but hang on. All right, when I get back, I'm going to pick it up at 2:37. There are protocols that don't have numbers, and the reason that they don't is because they don't reach up into layer 4. So there's no UDP port numbers, there's no TCP port numbers. And things I'm thinking about are protocols that live at layer 2 and much more commonly layer 3, like ping, which isn't a protocol. ICMP is the protocol, like ARP, like RARP. So we do have to know about ARP and RARP and things like that. So I wanted to show you a little something in WireShark about ARPing and RARPing. And rather than go through my notes and make it a 40-minute presentation, let me just whip this thing up and kind of teach it as I go, or explain it as I go. So let's fire up the connection to Drama, which hopefully is rebooted and is doing its thing. Yep. Then we go over here and we share it.
Not sharing for you?
Yeah, it's
Computers, you just can't live with them.
I'm telling you, the weird thing is, I just brought this up. That makes it first in the list of shareable things from the Zoom share menu. And
That's the problem. It heard you.
Yeah, what the heck is it doing? We can't get away without this. Share screen. There it is. Okay, it probably just took a while for it to register. All right. So here's our desktop. Back. This is Raspberry Pi OS, current version on a Raspberry Pi 3B. Many of you have seen this. And I've got WireShark installed on here. And if you don't have a Pi and you want to play with this stuff, you know you don't have to. There's WireShark available for PC. There's WireShark for whatever Linux VM you've got running. WireShark is available for all kinds of platforms. Is it?
Oh yeah,
it's Mac, Michael?
Oh yeah, Windows, Mac, Linux. It covers the whole gamut.
Super. All right, so I've got 3 captures that I want to show you today. Again, I've downloaded them as PCAP files. So I'm going to start with this one. It's an ARP storm. So there's 2 interesting pieces of going on stuff in here. First and foremost, this is something bad that's happening. What you can see here is a source, Cisco 251 AF F454. That's the MAC address of the sender. And 20 times per second, about every 0.2 seconds or so, this thing's broadcasts an ARP. And who is he broadcasting it to? Somebody different every time. It's going to IP address. They all start with the same address, network address 24. And then they further on to 166, 173. That's probably a subnet. But all these last numbers are different. 159, 141, 161. So this is an ARP storm. Now, ARP storms exist for 3 basic reasons. One, a computer has a glitch. So, okay, we'll say perhaps that's innocent and possible. But that glitch I don't buy, because these aren't the same number that it's constantly trying to ARP. So this looks malicious to me. This thing is just trying to, remember, because an ARP is a broadcast, this is going to monopolize the cable and prevent other stations from using the cable until this thing gets shut down or cut off or whatever. So
yeah, your network will not be happy with this thing going on.
Who won't?
Your network will not be happy with one of these going on.
That's right. And everybody on it, because they're all, hey, the net's down. But good news, WireShark can find something like this quickly and easily. We can say, oh, okay, well, the MAC address ends in AF F454. And here's the whole MAC address. The system looked up in its database 00070D is the organizationally unique identifier, OUI, for Cisco Ethernet cards. So a good network administrator has a document that identifies which computers have which MAC address, and we can go find the offending computer. There's ways around that. You can spoof the MAC address, but nonetheless.
I wonder what kind of equipment that is. If it's a router or an access point or
yeah, hard to tell from here, right? Okay, so let's
Yeah.
just look at an ARP packet itself. This, when I say frame number 2, that just means it's the second packet or frame that's been captured here in the capture sequence. And if you highlight the frame, then all you see is the entire contents. So let's break it up. Let's take a look at the contents of the Ethernet frame. The destination here is 48 bits, 12 Fs. The sending MAC address is these 48 bits, 0007. And then next is the protocol field. It's the type field. Now there's all kinds of different type fields, and ones that we've looked at every time we've done this exercise up until today. The type field has been 0800, which means IP. Or last week we did an 802.1Q type field. But this one is 0806, and that means it's an ARP request. So all the information that we really need is right at the beginning. Attention all stations. This is MAC address Cisco 54. And now I got a question for you. It's a sent to any and all. Oops, there's a pad field in here. Remember, this is less than 64 bytes, so they threw a pad field in there. And then here's the question that it asks. It says, using IPv4, do you have, or my MAC address is this, and my IP address is this. I don't know what your MAC address is, but I know you've got the following IP address, 24.166.172.141. Sorry, shook the table. So that's what's going on. An ARP request says, attention all stations. I know the MAC address of somebody I got to talk to. Maybe it's my default gateway. Maybe it's some IP address on the local network. Can't be on the other side of a router because MAC addresses don't cross routers, but it says, I know the IP address of somebody local and I don't know their MAC address, so I can't create a frame to send it to them. So I do a broadcast. Attention all MAC addresses. Here's my MAC address. If your IP address is 24.166.172.141, please respond. And this capture doesn't have a respond because everybody got hosed out, but we would see ARP response that would be a total unicast to MAC address 54 from, here's my MAC address that you need to know. Yes, I am IP address 24.166.172. And now the sending host says, good, I have all the information that I need to create a frame or a packet. That makes sense?
Yeah, this is just the glue that kind of takes layer 2 and layer 3 and lets them work together.
Right.
So in this case, we're talking Ethernet and IP. So that's what ARP is. ARP is that weird kind of glue protocol that lets them work together.
And the other cool thing about this, in all operating systems, Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, Mac isn't an operating system, Android, both stations involved in that ARP will cache the information that they've learned. So next time they have to communicate with one another, they don't have to do an ARP broadcast and reply. They can say, oh, okay, I learned about this from Fred. Now those ARP caches are time limited. If you don't communicate with the other station within a certain amount of time, that entry will get deleted from your cache and you'll have to do it again. And if you reboot, it's not permanently kept, it's a memory cache. But
Yeah,
there's an ARP.
And I note IPv6 does not have ARP. This is only for IPv4.
That's correct.
Yeah, in IPv6, it's called the neighbor discovery protocol, and one of the big reasons they changed it up is because there is no broadcasting in IPv6.
Right.
They use yeah, they have a, yep, you got it.
Anycasting. All right, so here is the second capture I want to take a quick peek at. This is a RARP, a reverse address resolution protocol. And a RARP says, I know a MAC address, but I don't know the IP address of that MAC owner. So this is done as two separate capture files. One is the RARP, and then the other one is going to be the RARP reply. So, hey, too much okay. Scott was going to try
Scott
and
says
fill
hi.
in, but we're just getting some information from him that because of all the activities that he's got going on wherever he is, it looks like he's not going to be able to join us. So,
But he says hi to everyone.
yes.
So
And everybody say "aw" so we can report that back to him. Okay, so it works the same kind of way. Here's your basic frame to all MAC addresses from this specific MAC address. There's another ARP because RARP is part of the RARP protocol. And then we look into the RARP details. This is a reverse request. It says my MAC address is this, and you don't know my IP address yet. It's useless to you. Well, I'm reading that all wrong. What am I missing here, Michael? This is a
What?
RARP. I'm supposed to know his IP address.
sorry, let me take a look. Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, you're responding to
RARP.
Scott.
And you know his IP address, but you're trying to find
His
you
MAC
know his
address.
MAC address, and you know
Hmm.
that. Ooh, I don't.
But something's wrong here because we've got the sender MAC address and the sender
Do.
says, okay, well, let me point this out then. The sender, whenever you do an IP address or a MAC address with all zeros, it means the current MAC address, whatever the current address that I'm using. So just trust me, take my word for it. But here's the problem. He's sending it to a target with a known MAC address. And he says, whatever your IP address is.
That is a weird one
reverse.
because
I'm
yeah,
gonna
there's something wrong. What?
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because you're the sender and the target MAC address are the exact same.
Yes, that's the trick. There you go. Okay, so
Yeah.
we sent this as a broadcast address. Okay, so this is code that means send me your MAC address and your IP address. There you go. So let's see the response then. Open recent. RARP reply. Okay, so it's a 2-channel response versus a broadcast. Oh, nope, this was the RARP and here's the reply.
There's your
It was a
reply.
different, yeah, this was a different one. This was a VMware one where somebody just, that first one only showed the RARP request without the reply. And then here's a different capture that's got the RARP request and the RARP reply.
And
You think I'd look this over more closely? I did, and I went with a script. So here's the reply that says, okay, the way I read your packet, it came in as you are 10.1.1.10. That's me, and I'm responding to you on 10.1.1.100. Okay.
yeah, that looks like a proper what one would expect for that kind of protocol. Yeah.
And this is normal. Okay, so there's the deal though. And the good thing about RARP or about WireShark is most of this is pretty figure outable. If you've got some basic core knowledge of even the stuff we give in A+, and more so in Net+, when you run WireShark, he's going to tell you this is an ARP protocol or an IP protocol or a RARP protocol. And then you can simply just look at each of these fields. And if you don't know what it's telling you, my friend Google will. All right.
Fortunately, the RARP is something you're really not going to see out there much. You're going to see ARP all over the place, but reverse ARP, you're not something you're going to have to really worry about too much.
Yeah, knowing a MAC address and not knowing the IP address is less common. All right, let's take questions for about 7 minutes. Then I'm going to move on to something really cool. Let's just go with that. All right, so I finished off at 2:37, if I remember right. I did.
I haven't been too chatty since then.
Okay, hi, nice try. I used Windows Creation Tool so I could try and repair. So I'm at a bit of a loss. Could problems be? Oh, that was the one you answered. Okay.
Yeah, we had a little discussion about that.
Okay.
Yes, backups, recent backups are very important. Mike has a saying, it's like, if you don't want, how do you know when to back it up? Will I cry if this machine dies?
Right. So don't think about backups in terms of a second hard drive or a thumb drive or something like that. What happens in a flood or a roof cave in or a fire? you need some distance. You need to reduce the points of failure, or I guess increase them, so it's not single point of failure. Oh, Tullowit, not kittens. Let's go with naughty, but okay, I see where you're going. Oh, good. Yeah, it's everything's caught up. All right, sweet.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Good.
So you're going to
up at
talk
two-
about some
Everybody
scripting
was
on the bash.
Right. Everybody was so enraptured watching WireShark and ARPs and RARPs. Before I do bash, I got one more thing to do. We did a Pi-hole installation last week. So what I want to do this week, let me see, I can get rid of this because I'm going to use something different for the next lab. Stand by. Click, go away. Yes. All right. Now I got a clean screen to work from. And
I'll admit a little secret. I actually do not own a Pi myself, but the Pi-hole is something I have been keeping my eye on. I definitely want to set one up.
Right. You got to get enthusiastic about it after this. And, you know, I got 14 sitting at the office. Mike snagged number 15, and he's putting his Pi-hole on that. He put a media server yesterday and last night on a Pi 4. He and I did a little bit of phone work, but mostly he did the work himself. And he is just very, very happy with it. So he hasn't done all the stuff we did with our media servers, but he's done much of it. Okay, so what I want to show you then is a tour of the Pi-hole dashboard. And again, I got 20 pages of notes, but I can just whip this puppy out and tour it.
And this was the most recent version. Oh yeah, that looks
absolutely
nice.
Right. So all we did was open up a browser that's on the same network. I could have done this from my Windows machine. In fact, this is from my Windows machine. You can do this on the browser, on the Pi-hole machine itself. Doesn't make a difference. And let me see, I'm going to refresh this. Okay, I logged into it this morning and it's got a long-term login. So if you're not logged in, there's only 4 entries on here, and one of them is login. And you just click it, and all it asks you for is the password. And we talked about where you get the password last week and how to change it if you've lost it. So as soon as you put that in, then you get all of these entries here and lots of good information. So I'm just going to do a tour of a good bit of this thing. First and foremost, the hamburger menu up here, all it does is shrink down all of these pane menu options and open it back up. Over here, we've got the host name of the computer that it's running on. Not surprisingly, we called ours Pi-hole. And if you do this, this just takes you back to the home dashboard page. I like this screen. This is true for whatever kind of computer that you're running it on. This is the status of your Pi-hole computer. So he's not doing much right now. This is real time. It updates every 6 minutes, every 10 minutes, 6 times an hour. You can see he's kind of bored right now, but it's active. The temperature of the CPU is 51 degrees C, and the load right now is non-existent. The biggest load that I have seen on this thing since we installed it last week was 1.5%. This is a 3B, so it's got 1 gig, and this is the most memory I've ever seen it occupy, sitting at 17%. There's nothing else on that. I also threw a number of other servers on there because I use that as my gateway from the outside world to the inside world. So here we got a textual summary. This is of the last 24 hours. Let me see if I can widen this up. Yeah, there we go. Total queries over the last 24 hours, and this info is from the last 24 hours. So I have 8 clients that are currently using Pi-hole in the house here. So in the last 24 hours, those 8 clients have made 11,000 DNS requests. 2,800 of them been blocked for about 25%. I see that go up and down all day between 25 and 33%. And there's a file with a block list in there that when we started this exercise a week ago had 82,800 and something in there. And I did an update. I'm going to show you that update here in a moment. And in the 4 days since I had installed Pi, 800 new domains were added to the list. You can add your own. There's more subscribable lists that you can install. I saw a guy on the Reddit Pi-hole support forum /r/Pi-hole, not surprisingly, who's got a block list of it was either 2 million or 3 million I'm very confident that it was 3. You can hover over many of these boxes and get an explanation. So this says, I'm only showing you the queries that were A record queries and quad A records, IPv4 addresses and IPv6 addresses. You don't see printers and servers and text and others in that list. This thing says it was updated 2 days ago, which is about right. So
How
down
often
here
does
we
it
see
update?
graphic. Go ahead, Michael.
Do you have to manually update, or is it automatically update on a regular basis?
There is an auto update setting, and maybe
Okay.
I haven't been patient enough for it to happen. I've manually updated it, but I'll bet it happens once a week.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right, and I've done it in less than a week. All right, so as you look at these scopes, again, hover over it and it'll tell you what each of the color codes means. So if I move this away, I know you can't see it marvelously clearly, but there's some gray and there's some gray on the bottom. So over here it tells us green is permitted queries and gray is blocked. And I have seen other colors in here. Down here, a little more about the client activity. These show me the IP addresses of who's been doing what, how much activity at that time period. And if you click on that, am I the wrong thing? Might be up here. Yep, sorry, I was thinking of that one. All right, so I'm not a guru on this yet. Let's go over here to the query log. The query log is same kind of stuff, except it's textual. And here's an opportunity to say, somebody made a call to domain or from domain 8.8.8.8. It's green, so it came through. I can toggle that and put that on the blacklist. And every time I look at a page here, I always have some approved ones or some blocked ones. There we go. So here's a
Alice
blocked
makes
one.
a comment about the number of blocked domains and having something to hide. And I was going to comment that the amount of ad and tracking domains on your average large website today is immense. There can be hundreds of tracking domains and ad domains on a single news site or something.
You're right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to show you something on the previous page.
Yeah.
Here real quick, just finish this one. So here was one that got blocked. And if for some reason I would want to get ads from ad.doubleclick.net, then I can toggle that and make that whitelist. You can see it says blocked by gravity here. I'll get into that in a minute.
Oh, wow.
Back to the main page and show you the thing I forgot. So there's a couple more graphs here that shows me by circle chart how many of all the different kinds of queries there have been by percentage. So here's all the A records, mostly IPv4. Here's the IPv6 records. And there have been a number of printer requests. Sorry, pointer, thank you.
Pointer requests. Yep. And a handful of text and others.
Right. And the same kind of breakdown for responses. Go, Michael.
For those who don't know, the text records, you can, DNS can be used for doing a lot more than just mapping IP to a domain name. And so a lot of those other things are put in these text records, and they're literally text. They can be anything in there. But a lot of the email validation and kind of behind the scenes things are shoved in those records.
Right. Somebody go nuts sometime on one of Mike's AMAs and ask him to do a DNS presentation. He loves DNS. He's good at it and has a lot to say. Here we have a list of top allowed domains that we've been used in the last 24 hours. So this particular tracker is allowed by their defaults. I don't know what it is. I'd have to look it up and say, do I want that to be allowed or not? And you can see they go downhill fairly quickly for these safe sites. Blocked ones. These are my top 2 blocked ones in the last 7 days. They change permission more often than not. Telemetry Dropbox. So your Dropbox will work absolutely fine without it communicating telemetry back and forth. So all that stuff is being blocked. And then this mobile pipe ARIA, Microsoft.com, this is related to DHCP. I looked it up and read it and said, oh yeah, okay, I can see why they blocked it. Doesn't hurt anything to be blocked. But you get the idea. I got some MSN stuff that's getting blocked here. Yandex, because there's a Russian site and a Chinese site or two that I go to, and Yandex services them. Thank goodness they get blocked a lot. I don't need all that junk. So pretty slick. Busiest clients. This is interesting. There's been a change of place here. This is me, because I've been doing so much stuff over the last 2 days for the past bit of prep. This is a computer that we stream video content on, not the usual, not my Plex and my Kodi servers, but another one that the missus uses. And top block clients. My laptop is what I spend 99% of my time on in the house. And so if there's any blocking going on, a lot of it's happening on it. And there's a lot of blocking on the missus' computer. All right, let me finish up this other stuff over here then. Back to that query log. Now you can filter this query and say, I only want to see stuff about particular domains, particular host addresses, type of packet there that we're dealing with here. So anything happened while I was doing that? Nothing new. And this is very real time. Yeah, there has been some stuff. It's just been all allowed because the one that got blocked has dropped down a couple of pages. I like this one, the long-term data. There's 3 sets of information in here. It's the same thing as the first page, as the dashboard, except it's longer and it's broken up into a couple of pages. So right now comes up with nothing. You got to tell it how long-term a period you want to see. Well, this thing's been only running about 7 days. So we'll look at the last 7 days. And hey, cool. So I can see all kinds of information and gather it out of here. Busyness, times of days, quantity of blockage in this graphical format. Pretty slick. The query log has those 4 boxes. And again, I got to pick a time period here. So let's look at the last 7 days. And you can identify which items get filtered and showed in this information down here. So in the last week, 30,000 queries blocked out of 92,000 total queries.
Sounds about right.
31% of the activity of my household gets their DNS blocked in the last week. So this just gets fun. It's neat stats.
Are you running any ad blockers on your browsers as well?
Yes, I use the Brave browser, which has built-in ad blocking. And then on my other ones, I have an ad blocker. However, this is the only computer with ad blockers on it. All my other computers and devices in-house don't have them.
So because you're using Brave, that would probably be even higher if you weren't using Brave itself, because it's already blocking them at that level.
I believe that to be the case. And then again, maybe not, because I think the ad comes to Brave, so it makes it through, and then Brave says, I'm not going to bother to load it or call it. So I think it's probably getting blocked before most of it gets to Brave. But no guarantee on that. I'm not a guru yet on the internals. And then there's the final thing, a top list. Instead of seeing it over the past 24 hours, seeing it over some longer period. So
and are they?
Yeah, you can
is
see
it recording all these? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
Okay. So is it recording all these continuously? If you reboot the Pi, will it forget it all, or is it actually writing it to disk?
It's all saved.
It's all saved. Okay.
Yep. So super cool. So you can see over the last week instead of today, a lot more Dropbox telemetry than Microsoft Mobile Pipe. So there's a manually updatable blacklist and whitelist. And this one, Michael, I didn't talk to you about this yesterday, but I surely wanted to. This can be done by importing a regex filter. You got anything on that? I know you speak regex.
Regular expressions. They are they're a pattern. It is a kind of a small programming language, you might say, for pattern matching. it looks like gobbledygook when you look at it at first hand, but it's incredibly powerful, and it will let you build filters that can match on things very quickly for the computer. So that's what it's doing here. So if you know that you have a particular pattern of text that and you could say like match on like this particular, the third character in the string. By string we mean text. Is the third character is always a number, like 0 through 9 kind of thing. You can do things like that, or you can say this particular run of characters should be equal to this, and so you can build up very sophisticated little matching programs, regex.
Right. So the downloadable filters that you can get for here are already in regex format, and anything that you manually do in these whitelist and blacklist gets converted and added to the existing regex filters.
Yeah, no, that's pretty nice. Can you do on that same note, the whitelist and the blacklist?
Yeah.
Do they have extensions for browsers that you can do where it'll actually, like, you can say, I'd like to block this, and then it would automatically add it to the blacklist, or I would like to allow this domain through and then add it to the whitelist from your browser?
Yes, you can do that. You can.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, you can do that from the query log.
But you have to go into the control. So in that,
you got to pick from here. Yeah, so here's the manual, and there's, again, we're getting deeper than I speak Pi-hole. I've just kind of
gotcha. Okay.
This for the last 5 or 6 days, and I just don't have the depth to do it. But that's kind of the good news about this, is if a relatively inexperienced person like myself can do the most fundamental things here and get great results in the facility. How great are results? There are Pis out there that are running on domains. Pi3B, there's one documented that's running 475 hosts in their network, and they're doing less than 10% CPU utilization on a Pi3B. So this doesn't take a lot of power or memory or storage to handle huge loads. But again,
there's not you're not going to need a ton of horsepower to deal with that. Even, what did you say, you have 150 hosts on that network?
No, here in the house I got 8, but on
the one you described,
475.
475. Okay, yeah,
that's a big case study one that everybody follows. So local DNS records, I don't have a local DNS server, so there's nothing to see. But if I did, I would tell it, and I could do it. Or you could go and look up an external one, way beyond what I want to demonstrate here.
That's nice.
Yeah, slick.
Yeah.
Over in group management, I can group people, computers, and whatever I like together and apply filter rules for the Pi on a custom basis for them. So you guys unfiltered, you guys only filter on this regex list or this and this. You guys get filtered by everything. So I can do that by groups, by clients, by domains, and by ad lists. And I'm not here to teach the whole thing. I just want you to see this so you can experiment with it and learn about it. I got something wacky going on my network, and maybe the Pi-hole is at fault. So we got a disable menu, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, a custom time, or indefinitely. So now you can leave it up and running without having to shut it down, just disable the Pi-hole process. And that's great if you have other services running on that server. I don't have to unplug or turn off the whole computer. There's a Pi-hole diagnostics here. It'll do internal diagnostics. Update Gravity. So Gravity is the database of lists of all the domains. And I'm going to do that one here. Let's go back here for just a second and remind us how many domains are on the block list right now. 83,447. So this only takes a couple of moments, especially because I'm hardwired. So this is what I did 2 days ago and added 800 domains. Whoops. Updating, please wait. This will be really fun to watch. And it's done. Let's go back to the dashboard. And it hasn't been updated. It's still 83,447 in the last 2 days. So that's too bad. But it's easy enough to do.
They probably throttle the number of updates so they don't get swamped.
Yeah. So I could go.
Servers can get expensive over
Yeah.
time, and especially if you're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of, or up to millions of users.
Right. If you want to check and see if a particular domain is in the block list, here's down here in query list. Here's where you go look for that. The audit log shows me live real-time blocking. It's not a stunningly interesting thing, but there's been 685 hits. If I audit this, this will show me everybody who got blocked and when they got blocked. So maybe that's valuable if I'm troubleshooting some kind of external wacky thing. Hey, and I want you to remember something. Let's key on something about Pi-hole. Your data, your streams, your web pages, none of that's going through Pi-hole. Pi-hole is a little side phone service that says, hey, Pi-hole, I need the IP address of a web server called chillout.com. And he makes the call, he gets the response, sends it back to my computer, and then my computer says, okay, I'm going through the gateway router and talking to that thing.
It's just DNS. Yeah,
it's
Dave's right.
DNS.
There's just DNS, and the traffic does not flow through the Pi-hole, and that's one of the reasons why it can service so many clients.
Right.
Because it's not a router, it's not a switch or anything like that.
Exactly. These two tail entries for logs, a tail on a log means I'm showing you the most recent, the bottom of the log. As it happens, there's nothing happening right now, of course, when I want it to, you goober. But
you could like open up a phone or go to someplace.
Yeah, not worth it. You'll just see log entries scrolling down here. Let's see if the FTL is doing anything, and I'll tell you what FTL is. So FTL stands for faster than light. The core of a Linux DNS management system is a process and a file called DNS mask with a Q at the end. And it's an okay process. It's an okay file. What FTL does is two things. One, it accelerates the operation. It replaces the DNS mask engine, but still uses the DNS mask database to do its thing. And it's blindingly fast compared to the normal DNS mask process. So that's important feature number one. Why that's important is you should never mess with any programs that play with DNS mask on a Pi-hole computer. It will crash it and wreck it, and there's all kinds of stuff on the Reddit forum that talks about that. So avoid that. Boy, what a disappointment. This has just been so good.
That's interesting. I just looked up FTL on Linux, and it is actually part of the Pi-hole project on GitHub.
In fact, that part, of course, as you're probably reading, says FTL DNS.
Yeah, FTL DNS provides
and
interactive API and also generates stats for Pi-hole's web interface.
So there's the other piece of it. It's an interactive API. It's what sucks the stats out of DNS mask and rapidly feeds them to the user interfaces, the graphical and the textual user interface.
Efficiency and speed is a feature. Real quick, just while you're doing that, we got a little back and forth about Brave on iOS. I just kind of wanted to comment on that.
Yeah.
While I don't run Brave on iOS, I do know that any browser, any third-party browser on iOS is actually just going to be essentially a skin over Safari for iOS. It's just the rules that Apple has when it comes to iOS.
And I read something interesting this morning. I'm going to get this totally messed up, so it's not worth it, but it involved what looked like the deprecation of Safari, but obviously they haven't
Yeah,
seen
I
it.
mean, they literally just released iOS 14
Right.
the other day,
Yeah, I updated my phone
and
this morning.
Safari 14 on the Mac. And I see that Chrissy B was commenting about uh, something being the same when Apple switches Macs to ARM. Um, it's not going to, those rules are not going to apply where they, um, any third-party browser will have to use Safari's engine.
That's what it was. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
it
It
is going to
opened up
be,
so people
once they transition over to ARM, it's going to be the rules are just like Intel. So there's no change as far as the developer experience. So all the developers will have to do is just recompile their code so it runs on the ARM chip. So
that's
we
all we got to
should
do,
see
huh?
Firefox, we should see Brave, Chrome, all the usual suspects running on top of the ARM CPUs in their full versions.
Cool.
So
yeah, a number of notable changes with iOS 14. I just started reading about them. I updated my phone last night, but haven't looked.
Yeah, iOS 14, if I know it's a little bit of a sidetrack, it's pretty nice. I just installed it the other day. The widgets are a nice little feature. They're pushing a lot more privacy related stuff. So you can actually get like a
right,
privacy.
yeah. You sent some messages out about Mac randomization. Let me finish this.
Yeah, that was interesting. Go ahead.
All right, so last thing in the tools menu is this network. This just tells me about the hosts that it's encountered and gives you some information on that. I like this when it was first seen. So this is kind of a nice, hey, wait a minute, who the heck is that IP address that turned up on this date? Now you can also do the same thing in your router logs, but this adds the query information to them and whether or not they've identified, this is the interface that the information came in on, MAC addresses and so forth. All right, I've been holding this one because this one is just so exciting for me. And I don't know why, it shouldn't be, but so over in the settings, this is mostly informational. In fact, this is all informational, some stats, some information about FTL. And then there's some toggleable functions down here. If I want to flush the logs and start over, power off, restart it, just restart, DNS mask and FTL, all those are cool kind of things that you can do from within here. We got categories across the top. And add list, you actually can't do it. You used to be able to go in here and there was a menu. And because old timers are used to it, they've kept it here, excuse me. But now you have to go back to the group management page to add lists. When we did the installation last week, you picked the primary server or servers that would be contacted by the Pi-hole to get DNS responses, to get replies. Here's where you can change your mind. Oh, I don't want to use Google at 8.8.8.8 anymore. I want to use Cloudflare. It's getting a lot of good press at 1.1
That's what I use.
1.1. And you can do both.
That's nice that they have those already built in like that.
Right.
It makes it a lot easier.
There's some advanced stuff here, some of which I don't understand, some of which I'm not going to get into in here. But DNS security says we're going to validate replies from a DNS server before we accept them. That might be important if you're worried about security, but it will add a little bit of slowdown. Where to listen to? Listen on multiple interfaces if you have them in your Pi-hole. We do. We've got a wireless one and a wired one. All right, Alex. But here's what I'm heading for. There's a DHCP server built into here. It's a little bit more sophisticated than most of the ones you find in your Soho router. So if you want to offload that from your Soho router, or you don't want to run the risk of somebody attacking that Soho router, I think Tullowit had that problem. Somebody did that we were working on a few weeks ago. They had to replace their whole router because of the damage that got done. You could replace that with the DHCP server here. And I think that's just cooler than all get out. I'm not going to configure right now. It would completely interfere. It would become a rogue DHCP server. I don't speak API settings. I did some lookups on changing. I ran into a conversation on Reddit last night about changing the API token. Apparently that can't be done, but I don't understand all this junk on this side. But here's what I do understand. You can change themes, and it's real time, and it happens anytime now. I may need a reboot on this machine. Dark theme on here. I like dark theme on just about everything I have. It sucks on here. You cannot read what you're going to look at. I'm going to come back to this and see if it enacts when I change pages. No, it's still functioning. I'm still getting activities here, but I'm not getting much blocking. So this thing may need a reboot.
Good.
It didn't. Oh, I didn't save it. Maybe you got to hit save. Yeah, there we go. All right. So I don't love that as much. I think especially I found it unhappy on here. Yeah, it looks pretty good now. Maybe this is darker in the room.
That does. I like that. I'm a sucker for dark mode.
Yeah, I like dark a lot myself. Oops, not tools, settings. All right, but for the presentation, I'm going to stick with.
Oh, it even got kind of like this textured background too. I like that.
Yes. You can trigger email address, email content to somebody whenever something weird happens on Pi-hole. So here'd be a place to put that in. Change how the buttons look and work. And I like the idea of changing my CPU temp to Kelvin. Good Lord, it's 323 degrees Kelvin. So here was another question that we asked when we did the installation. And that was, how much stuff do you want logged and tracked? So if you've looked on here and you say, you know what, I'm getting more than I really need, you can change your mind. And they're all explained. And then finally, the teleporter mode. This is how to back up your settings and how to restore them. So I'm going to make some major changes and it might totally wreck the system. Cool. I'll back up everything that I've got first. Select what you want to back up. Actually, when you back up everything. And then if you mangle it or bungle it, then you can go back into this menu and restore just what you want out of that backup. So it's cool. All right, that's the tour that I wanted you to take you through. I have a couple other notes that I want to share with you for just a moment. I'll stay face up for a second, and then we'll get back and answer some questions. And let me see what's happened here in the background. Yeah, I'm dealing with that, Michael. Thank you. I know. It's going to work like 10 to 15.
Cool.
Zub, 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 zub. All right, where was I going? I was going to here and here.
Dave, we've been having a little bit of a conversation about ad blockers and Google AdSense ads. Does Brave block those?
You speak much more about AdSense than I do.
But I guess specifically, have you found that Brave blocks ads on Google sites and Google ads on other properties?
Many, but not all.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. All right, let me see what we're doing.
Yeah, as I was saying, Choco, I don't use Chrome as my daily driver. I'll use it for development work, but not for my everyday. Most day for work stuff, I'm on a Mac, so I use Safari as my daily driver, and I use AdGuard on that.
Okay.
I think it blocks AdSense.
I hate AdSense.
If it doesn't, they're almost invisible to my eye.
Yeah, me too. Once you get used to it, they go away in your eyes. But okay, a couple things that I wanted you to know in general. So I can do this without killing everything. You get shrunk, you go over here, and you go here. All right, now I'm able to see everything that's. So we talked about FTL, talk about DNS mask. So last week I showed you how to take an individual host and say, use Pi-hole. We went into the IP config settings of Windows. You can also go into the IP settings on a Linux machine. It's easy enough to do. But the problem with that is if you got 475 users, you either got to walk them, talk them through it, or you got to fan out your support department or whatever. So there's two other ways to make life a lot easier. One of them is everybody's probably using DNS in most DHCP in most environments. So just go to your DHCP server and have it hand out the Pi-hole IP address as the primary DNS server, and then a public one or your corporate one or your ISP one as the secondary. And that's really cool. You can do that in a cell phone. I've set my cell phone so that the primary DNS server is 192.168.1.201, and the secondary is 8.8.8.8. So when I'm here at the house, he says, oh, okay, I can reach that 201, cool. And when I leave the house, he says, I can't find anything at 201. It's not a DNS server, so I'll switch to 8888. So cool. And then the third method is you could change the WAN DNS server instead of it calling out to the ISP's DNS. You can make it, maybe, not every router will do that. Not every router will go from the outside WAN settings to an inside DNS server on the LAN side, but it's possible.
Did you mention also using, if you use a VPN, that you could do it that way as well?
I didn't mention that, but sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, another option, if you kind of want to get that experience away from home, is if your router supports it, like I have a little Asus router and it has support for OpenVPN. You can set your phone up to, or laptop, to VPN back to your home network via that. And then you can use the DNS settings on your home network like it's, like you're sitting in your living room.
Yep, I'm going to put something, oh, I can't. You'll have to do this, Michael. My account can't do this. Ask you to type in a website.
Okay.
And that website is, I just lost my page. Here it is. You don't need the HTTP or any of that junk. Just, I keep hitting the wrong one. This one. One word, can you block it? CANYOUBLOCKIT.com.
If you post it in, just post it in the chat and I'll post it over here.
Right, put that in the chat. So can you block it is a block it tester. It'll test whatever kind of ad blockers you have with a little output that says, this is what you would see if nothing was blocked. And here's what you see blocked with whatever your blocker is. And there's an entry on the advanced page there, the extreme test page it's called. And there's a button to link to it that specifically tests Pi-hole blocking. So that is just super cool. Let's see, 32 half hour to go. All right, we're gonna make this. If I were gonna hang that shingle out, we talked about this in Mike class many times. I wanna make some money. I wanna do stuff for my friends and family for free or for cash. I wanna offer a service. I think this is one heck of a service that you could offer. You pre-configure a Pi-hole at your place, you take it over to a customer site, and you just make a couple of modifications to deal with their local IP addresses, set up their DHCP server so that it calls to the Pi-hole, and you have done them one heck of a favor. And if I were going to do that, I would charge 200 bucks. You'd be in for the end of the Pi for give or take 70, 90 bucks, something like that. Your time is worth however much you do. And I wouldn't give a nickel less than 25 bucks as a donation to the Pi-hole people. They got links all over their site to say, man, this is a great product. I want to support you. I want to make sure you're getting it more, bigger, better, stronger, faster. And thanks for helping me make some money. Just my own personal opinion, but this is such a great thing. I'm not a big donator for things like that. Having played with this for the week, I sent him a donation. All right, I'm done with that. Let's answer a couple of questions and then do some bash scripting, wind things up.
Yeah, we've been having a nice little chat while you've been touring.
Okay, you block Origin. I'm a big user or historically of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything that you've kind of marked that we need to pursue? I got 250 marked here. It's a half an hour to catch up. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
at Alice. Okay, Alice has got one at 257. Out of topic question. Being a Linux user, I daily fight with unsatisfied dependencies and missing libraries. It's a headache, but when it's done, it's stable and reliable. Why Windows doesn't do it? Why don't they have missing dependencies?
Well, as I was explaining to Alice early, and kind of as well as you can do it on text,
Yeah.
it really comes down to the fact that Windows comes out of the commercial software world. So, with Linux, all those dependencies, what you're really seeing is that you have this whole dependency management system, and they're all open source. So that when you install one program, it can rely on all these other programs because you can actually get them and they're all free. In Windows, if you go and purchase a server program or another application, everything that it relies on has to come in the proverbial box. It has to come with it all because it's commercial software and it is being provided by and supported by the developer. So that it's not like an interconnected web of open source software like it is on Linux.
Right. Linux used to be wild, wild west. It's wild west still.
That's really what you're seeing right there. And as I was saying, WinGit is brand new, just came out. I do believe it's open source and on GitHub as well. It's not quite the same experience as Linux, where you say apt install Postgre, and then it downloads a dozen other dependencies along with it. But it's getting there. So the developer and the administration experience on Windows is getting much more Linux-like.
Cool. Michael, did you ask the question or answer the question from 302, Chrissy B, who needed advice about 150 Android devices that need XML put on them?
We were kind of trying to figure that out. I don't have a lot of direct experience, especially with Android. As I was mentioning in my answer, Googling Android MDM or mobile device management would be where I would start on that. Again, and it's probably, if you're talking about 150 of them, there's probably going to be a lot of plugging in USB or maybe those tables full of USB hubs and thing, depending. But
Michael would be our biggest expert on that. I have nothing. I would doubt that Mike has anything on that.
We're small companies, so I haven't had the need to deal with fleets of mobile devices, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
Zooming along, passing 324. Taco Dave wanted to ask again if anyone knows how to block Google AdSense. I can beat him. Nah, I don't have a great answer for that. I wish I did. Chrissy B, seems like deep issue, like Apple's pushing lockdown on their software. Absolutely. Apple is very tight-fisted about software, about apps that you can install from their store, about the network interfaces in their devices.
Yeah, iOS is a walled garden, absolutely locked down, and that's just the way it's going to be. And yeah, Chrissy, we were kind of discussing the Active Directory stuff. There is something called LDAP out there that comes out of Linux, and I do believe you can use. I think it's LDAP, and Samba, I do believe, will actually act as an Active Directory server for you. So you can set up an Active Directory type single login type system with Linux and Mac software, but it's not as good as the Windows Active Directory ecosystem. It's not. And Apple just is not an enterprise-focused company in that regard. So,
I got a couple things that have popped up here at 331. Dreamer has been talking about his browsers. He was a Firefox fan, but feels they've lost their direction. Then Chrissy B said, replied to him that Brave is the same devs. I'm interpreting that to mean Brave and Firefox are the same device, and they are not. They both stem from Mozilla. And the good news is, so does Chrome. The good news is the Chrome add-ons and the Brave add-ons therefore are the same. That core is the same.
Well, just to shade that a little bit, I think Brave might involve people from Mozilla, but the Brave browser is based on the Chromium.
You're right. You're
project,
right.
which uses the Blink engine.
Yeah.
And then Firefox uses the Gecko engine still, and that goes all the way back to Netscape for those who remember the history there.
Yeah. Ugh.
But
all right, very good. I'm about at the end here. Way to go, Alice, for sending them $10. I know they appreciate that. Co-founder from Mozilla, right? All right, I'm going to do a little bit of Bash scripting, and we'll close this guy up for the day. So this is kind of fun. I'm going to do some of this as demo, and some of it because of time constraints, actual or just slideshow. Let me prep up a share here real quick.
Gonna see Dave's leak coding skills here.
Can't imagine how much of this I stole from other educational sites. Man, would you believe it? And I have to reboot this damn computer too. All right, so while that's
Bash is not Bash is not the prettiest of computer languages, but it is it will solve a lot of problems, especially little problems, quickly, which is nice. In fact, we were using a little one-line bash this morning in another project where I needed to generate a find the SHA-256 sums of a whole bunch of different files in different folders. And so we wrote a little bash one-liner that would go in find the hash of all the files and all the folders and send it to another file. And then we'll let users verify the contents later on.
Sounds good.
So,
all right, I had to reboot again, another Pi. Come on, connect.
You should.
Well,
I wonder if you have I wonder if you had like some power noise or something on the line.
Everything over up here, it cooked. I can do this on another. Yeah, I can do this on another Pi. Oh, there we go. It's connected now. All right. All right, good. I got something to share. So let's do that. I'm going to have two things sharing back and forth regularly. Okay, that's ready to go. That's ready to go. Everything is ready to share. Click on this, click on this. And share that out. And then look at my slide notes. There they are, beautiful. All right, bash scripting. First and foremost, what I want to mention about this is there was a little bit of a discussion. There was a side discussion the other day on Mike's AMA about the difference between programming and scripting, and there were boisterous support that scripting isn't programming. You know, I don't care. It's a series of steps that's going to get followed in an automated process. It's a program because exactly that definition. So it's interpreted, it's not compiled. Call it whatever the heck you want. It makes nothing.
It is definitely, it's a subset of programming.
Of course it is.
For sure, yeah.
Let me move this over here. All
and
right.
If it gets long enough, it becomes, you know, the application.
So Raspbian is a spin-off of Debian, and there are all kinds of shells, terminals that we can use, Bash being probably the most common one, but there's plenty more. Go to the top of this page, you silly thing. There we go. So there's Bash shells, and there's Z shells, and there's TS shells or T shells, and Python shells and C shells. So we're going to use the Bash shell, and what that means is this thing understands certain commands. For instance, if I put in the command echo howdy, echo is a command that's understood by the Bash environment. There's a Bash interpreter out there that's looking at what I type in and what I do. If I type in the name of a runnable program, he says, oh, okay, I see that's a runnable program. I'll hand that off to the other handlers. But so when I make a bash script, what we have to put in there are commands and terms and techniques that are understood by the bash shell or by the bash interpreter. So I'm going to start up just by making a really simple one. And to do that, I'm going to use the common editor that us newbies use. And I'm going to run it with sudo. I don't know that I need to do sudo with all this, but I will just for sake. I'm going to say sudo nano. Now, I can follow that up with a file name that I want to create. Or I don't have to. I can add one later. Oh, I think there was something I meant to do this morning here and didn't do it. Let me clean this out if I didn't. Yeah, there it is. So I'm going to remove that. This was the one that I was experimenting with for all my labs. Okay, it's gone. Okay. Okay, so there's no test file in there now. So sudo nano, and you can make this file have any name you want, any extension, no extension. It's very common to add the .sh extension to a shell script, to a bash script. So I'm going to create a file called test.sh. Bam. Now, the first thing that has to go in a shell script is called a shebang, shebang. It tells us what kind of shell interpreter is going to understand this. So I started off with pound, exclamation point, space, and then a path to the interpreter, whack bin, whack bash. And as soon as I did the beginning of that, it said, oh, okay, I see that you're going to do bash scripting. And so he colorizes it in different ways. First thing that we learn about in just about any program is a comment line. So any line after the shebang that starts with a pound is a comment line. Nothing happens to it. It doesn't get processed. They're there for you to make notes to explain what you've done so you can troubleshoot later, add to it, and so forth. But what we want to do, of course, is have commands. So let's make a really simple command here. Echo. You can do this uppercase or lowercase for most of the commands. But for safe, I'm going to put that in. And see what happened? It turned purple. He said, that's legal. When I put this capital echo, he left it white. He says, I don't think that's legal in here. So echo, space, anything you like here. Welcome. Text can go in between quotes and should. Welcome to Raspberry. And I'm going to put another line in there above it. I'm just going to say clear. Didn't turn a color. I'm going to see what happens. So I'm going to save this file, Control X. Do you want to save this? Yes. What's the file name you want to save it as? I could save it there as test.sh, or I could change my mind and make another file. So it's done. I got a test shell here. It won't work. If I do an ls on test, there it is. But when you create a new file, it's not executable, executable if you like. So I'm going to use my friend chown. There's a couple ways to use chown. I can say +x and then the name of the file, X for executable, test.sh. Capital X? What am I doing here?
Oh, that should be right.
Yeah, it certainly should be right. Oh, sudo. Got to use sudo with chown.
Well, wait. You can use just as a small
My
note,
account right now can't. My account as
yeah,
it is.
because he created the text file with sudo in the first place. He created it as the root user. So in this particular case, now he cannot execute. Oh, yeah, he cannot execute the. It's X plus, I think.
Yes, you're exactly right. Duh.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that.
Oh,
But yeah,
come
the
on.
reason we're using sudo here is because the first line, sudo nano test.sh, sudo, the root user, now owns test.sh. So we have to run chion
No,
with.
it's plus X. I was right on this.
That is a weird thing. Oh, chmod.
Oh, I'm
That's right.
chowning.
It's not own, it's mod.
Thank you, chmod, not
Yeah,
chown.
no, sorry.
Sudo chmod. Let's see if I can chmod it without sudo. Plus X file name.
Yeah, I bet you that won't work. Yeah. Because
Okay.
the file was created with sudo.
All right, so now I want, yep. Okay, so now I want to run it. Let's see it. There it is in green. And if you just type in the name of a bash script, test.sh, it laughs uproariously at you and said, you can't do that. You got to tell the bash interpreter to run it. So, okay, bash test.sh. So it ran the clear command and it ran that echo command. Welcome to Raspberry Pi. Now, after you've created a file and given it the execute permission, if you edit the file, you don't have to do anything again with chmod. So I can use this as my standard experimental file for just about anything now. So I've got a little script here that I made earlier, and I'm gonna do a little quick copy and paste in it. I'm gonna sudo nano, stop it, nano test.sh, and we'll get rid of all this junk. Now let me copy paste from my little handy dandy document here.
Copying and pasting is doing this kind of work ahead of time, especially if a really complex command, is super useful. And I'll highly recommend it. It lets you check everything over before you run the command, because some of these long commands can get a little hairy, and it's important to make sure that you haven't made any typos in there.
Yeah. All right, so we got this little file here. All he has in it is 3 comment lines. And I explained to myself why I got to use the sudo command here. Here's the command that we're going to run, cp for copy. And all we're saying is copy from whack home, whack user, whack capital videos, whack star.mp4 to this destination directory. The account that I'm using, Pi, doesn't have permission to get into the opt-plex media folder. And so I got to precede it with sudo. So I'm going to control X. Yes, I want to save it to test.sh. Make sure I got some MP4 files in there. I don't. Copy star.mp4 to videos. Okay, now we ls videos, make sure it's there. I didn't get any error messages, so I know it's there, but videos, huh?
And that is why I constantly use the tab completion, because I can't spell worth anything.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to bash test.sh. He's going to read those 3 comment lines and do nothing, and then he's going to run that copy line. Can't stat, whack home, whack user, whack video, start an MP4, no such file or directory.
What user are you?
I made it generic. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm Pi, not user.
Live coding, it's the best. I've never made any of these mistakes.
That's right.
Once.
No one has. I am the first, and I'm proud. One more time. Oh, heck, just type it in manually, for goodness sake. Bash test.sh. Bam. No error messages. It happened. So, okay, that's cool. That's great if you want to do a repetitive command all the time that never changes. So it's anytime you ever run that program, it's going to sudo copy home pi videos star.mp4 to this same destination directory every time. But sometimes
What
things change, and I want to be able to take advantage of that without completely reprogramming the bash script. How
to
do you
make
do that,
while
Dave?
he's up there
Good.
while he's editing it, just kind of wanted to make a point about, you saw like a little mistake like that in a path. But it's something you really do need to keep in mind when writing these kinds of scripts, because if you're doing something like, say, cleaning up a file, we call these foot guns, and you can very quickly delete a whole lot of data and do a lot of damage that you did not intend just by typoing something like a path name in here. So if this script had done something more, like said, it went in and deleted all the MP4 files because we're trying to save space, and there was a typo, it might do a lot more damage if that typo is in there. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're doing this, kind of measure twice, cut once, as it were.
Absolutely. Oops, I missed 2 lines from there. Stand by, copying and pasting. All right, so Bash has the ability to use variables. A variable is a word or a number that you use and assign a value to it, and then you can reuse that throughout the script. They can be changed through the script as you need. So what we're doing here is we're using a variable that we're creating that we're calling source_dir. And we're going to make it say, whenever we use source_dir, it's going to mean whack home, whack pi, whack documents. And same thing here with desc_dir, whack opt, whack plex media, whack movies. So now I can use those variables later by preceding them with a $sign. So in the future, I can save myself some typing if I reuse this path, copy, and it'll fill in whack home, whack pi, whack, I want it to be videos. Whack star.mp4, and then there's my destination directory. And then we check the results to see how it worked. So Control X, save it to this file. Bash test. And there we go. There's the results of all that. I sent it to a different folder, had some different files in it. So schlick. So that's one way to use a variable. Another is to assign a variable to what's called an argument. Let's do, again, a really simple one here. I'll leave the bin bash up. Get rid of that comment line. You know how to do comments now. So how about a clear command and then 2 arguments. We're going to echo $1, $2. Where are those coming from? Stand by. Control X. How are we doing on time? We have 2 minutes to finish. I'm going to demo this and close down, and we'll do some more next week. Or the week after, since we got Dr. Eben coming in next week. When you type in the name of your script, a space and a word becomes the first argument. Hello. And then another space and another word. So hello is the $1 variable. Fred is the $2 variable. Sorry, argument. And there we go. Clear screen. Hello, Fred. All right, more next week. I'm done with that nonsense. We got about a minute to close this thing down.
Just real quick, Dave, were you going to talk about the // syntax for running scripts?
No, but I can add that in next week.
Yeah. Just as a little end of the show note, you don't have to type out bash to run the script. If you do a dot and then a forward slash to the thing, that's the same thing. That'll execute the script. So
Thank you. That's
just a
really
little
good.
shortcut to toss in at the end.
All right.
Save a few keystrokes.
Okay, guys, we're at the end of the period here. We've got a couple of seconds to close it down. The big reminder, next Friday, Dr. Upton, be here, bring your friends, bring your enemies, put it on your social media, get the word out. We got free pies to give away. Mike is going to join me. Maybe Scott will, maybe Michael will. They'll certainly be running background and able to take your questions. So until Monday for Mike's regular AMA, and Wednesday for Mike's regular AMA, and then next Friday, our big guest. I will see you. You guys have a wonderful and fantastic weekend. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. And we will, again, as Dave says, we will see you with Mike on Monday. So see everyone then. Bye.
Goodbye. Have a good weekend.